Okay, so this video is going to focus on option B, writing a personal response to text in just one paragraph. A reminder, in case you didn't watch video one, is that there's two separate ways that you can approach this assignment. A reminder that when we start to incorporate quotes in our writing, this is a really great resource of some examples and how we can do that and kind of what the goal is for doing that. Okay. So there's a planning sheet there that you can click on and it'll open this up in a PDF that you can get some of your ideas written down, but we will go right into an example. So this is a breakdown of the exemplar for option B. So anytime we approach a personal response to text, the first thing we always have a look at is what is the topic for the assignment. So the topic here is what does the text and or authors suggest to you about the interplay between optimism and truth in an individual's life. We're going to be focusing on The Story of an Hour by Kate Chopin. So if you haven't read that story yet, make sure you do that so that it gives you a little bit more context. So the key words here in this topic sentence are optimism and truth. So I want to make sure I'm using those words often within my paragraph just to help create some unity and make sure I'm staying focused and on task. Then what we need to do is decide, well, what's the position or lens that I plan to argue about this topic? So not just do I agree or disagree, but what is the why or the outcome or a feeling? So I've written here, when individuals do not pair their reality and truth with their optimism, it can result in unmet dreams or expectations. This time we're going over an exemplar of option 2. The last thing is we always want to make sure we have an original title for our work. So this isn't the title of the text that we're talking about. This is not the title of the topic. This is what's an original title for the sentiments of what I've written in my piece. So option 2, we'd said we're going to do, it means one paragraph for both. This means that I'm going to be going back and forth between elements from the story and comparing and contrasting it with my personal experience or knowledge throughout within that same paragraph. So a reminder, we're going to start with an introduction and our topic sentences where I'm going to state my main position. I should include the title of the text and a reference to my personal example. So when individuals do not pair reality and truth with their optimism, it can result in unmet dreams or expectations. In The Story of an Hour by Kate Chopin, Louise Mallard's sudden shift from grief to hope illustrates how unbalanced optimism, disconnected from reality, can lead to unmet expectations. I had a similar experience when moving to a new city. So I'm going to give a quote or detail from the text. So I have a quote here. Her fancy was running riot along those days ahead of her, spring days and summer days and all sorts of days that would be her own. So she's optimistic about a future that she suddenly believes is possible. And then I'm going to go to my personal example. So this story mirrors my experience when I moved to a new city. I imagined a fresh start would automatically lead to a better life. So I had optimism. Then another detail from the story. So her optimism blinds her to the reality that her marriage had probably always been a source of repression and that it was something that she kind of suppressed for years. Then I talk about, well, I really struggled to make friends. Perhaps it wasn't the location that needed to change. Maybe there were some things about me previously that I had to take care of before moving. Then a third example from the story is when the doctors came, they said she had died of heart disease. Okay, well, how does that support my position? She realized that her sense of freedom was never attainable within the constraints of her marriage, and her heart was not prepared to recognize the truth. So her optimism was perhaps realized too late. And I say, if I had dealt with my own issues before I moved, the transition would have been smoother. Instead, I had a lot of struggles. I didn't die, but I had struggles that came with adapting to a new environment. Then a concluding sentence. So what did I just prove about the topic? And so I'm going to say both cases highlight how optimism with one disconnected from reality that has always existed. So in her case, she always felt this way in her marriage. And in my case, I had some issues that I had to deal with. The geographical move didn't help, but these things can lead to a painful disillusionment. So physically, this is what your paragraph will end up looking like. So there's my title, there's my introduction sentences. Here is my body of the examples from the text and my personal examples being woven together, and then my conclusion. So if you have any other questions about this, feel free to reach out to an instructor. Definitely go and check out the assignment page to see what text and what topics you'll be writing about. But as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.